good evening. Another day of meteorology lab and a bit of a late start this evening. I looked over and Sony Vegas had not finished rendering the time lapse, so we just jumped over to some raw footage from the camera here. Just cumulus outside and looking a little bit summer-like, and the minimum temperatures across the southern U.S., 60s. Very warm for this time of year. It's almost like May, and this has been kind of an ongoing thing here. We can see the highs here in Texas have likewise been up in the 80s. So we got 83 right there around Graham, and 83 in San Angelo, and that's probably about the highest that I see across Texas. So it is looking like summer around here. Out in the northeast, where we've had that northwest flow aloft, 30s and 40s, so quite a different picture there. And you can see I can only imagine the contrast for people driving to the west, starting out in these 40s up here in Illinois, and by the time they get out in Oklahoma, 80s. Quite a change there. Elsewhere around the country, very warm. Also in the Rocky Mountain region. You can see 80s in Utah even. That's pretty unusual for this time of year, especially in the Four Corners area there. And let's check out the Pacific Northwest. Out there, also pretty mild. 50s and 60s in that area. Okay, let's check out the charts. We have a large ridge parked across the Rocky Mountain region right there, and that's associated with a subtropical high across the El Paso area in Albuquerque. Very light winds aloft in that region. And in fact, down in Mexico, you can see Chihuahua there with easterly winds. So that's a bit like tropical flow we would see in late summer there. So the subtropical high pretty much in place right there over El Paso. And we've got height falls coming in aloft on the west coast. Polar front jet running from just off the coast of Washington into British Columbia and into Alberta, and then all the way down with this very persistent northwesterly flow in the Great Lakes. And let's check out where the fronts are based on the 850 millibar temperatures. And this is going to be the 850 millibar temperatures and wind and relative humidity for about right now. And you can see a very strong thermal gradient off the Oregon coast right there. So that's going to delineate the area, the zone of a potential front. So I'm going to call that maybe right in this area here. And then we've got this gradient here from the southeast Oregon desert up to Spokane. That could be a warm front maybe, kind of like that. And then going into the west, into the central U.S., looks like maybe a new front coming down from the Dakotas, and we see this northwesterly flow here of about 30 to 40 knots there around the Pierre area. So maybe that's bringing a new cold front down. And going into Indiana and Oregon, we can see what looks like maybe a warm front right through this area right here. Okay, let me take a look at the chat. And we can, let me see, I'm trying to freeze frame that chart for this morning's data, and there we go. Kind of a slow day in chat, and that's pretty typical for Saturday. Usually everybody is out doing stuff on Saturday. Let me grab a quick drink here. Okay, got Michael Burrell here and Kevin McKinney, Fred Reamer, Ahmed in Saudi Arabia, Fun with Tech, Adam Davis, Ryan Toomeys, 62 degrees there in South Florida. Adam Davis asking if, oh yeah, mentioning somebody else uses Vegas. Yeah, I definitely do get a lot of use out of that. Victor Cabot is here. Jason Boggs getting ready for the first chase of the year on Thursday. Fred Reamer mentions the warm air advection there, 30 degrees with Altocumulus castellanus. Tree Nelson is here, and Fred is mentioning the return flow there in North Dakota. Okay, yeah, let's check out the Dakotas area with that. Yeah, let's see what's going on here. Something looks off with the data. I'm looking at the data here, and I'm seeing some very warm conditions there in North Dakota. Wondering if we have some old data here with those charts. Let me go back to that and see what's going on. Yeah, I think we had an old chart. Well, I don't know. Let's see here. 17th March, 18Z. I think maybe some old data got loaded up here. Okay. Let's try this again. 850 millibar temperatures, relative humidity and winds for Saturday. And this says Saturday. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, now we're seeing a little bit of a different picture here. Okay, so I'm looking at the thing, 19th at 0Z. Okay. We've got southwesterly flow there in North Dakota. So now I'm seeing a warm front kind of like that. Well, this is good. I mean, we're kind of seeing the progression of the patterns. The last chart you saw, that was for yesterday. And now we're seeing that cold front coming onshore here. So the higher thickness gradient coming onshore, we had it out here yesterday, and there it is in Oregon. And seeing a little bit of a gradient there in northwestern Montana. And here's that warm front in western North Dakota, looking kind of like that. Also seeing a bit of a gradient there in Illinois and Missouri. And that trails on off into the into the Carolinas, kind of like that right there. So maybe a possible 850 millibar front right in that region right there. So those are the 850 millibar fronts, and we're going to kind of tie this in to the thickness charts and the surface plots. So do we see that surface front in the Dakotas? Yeah, we've got 70s right there coming up to the Black Hills area. So maybe something like that going on right there. And we were seeing that 850 millibar cold front coming into western Montana. So the wind field is very disrupted here because of the effects of friction. But out here in off the chart here in Washington, we can see very strong westerlies coming in. So maybe something like that going on right there. Now the 850 millibar fronts, those do tend to stack towards the colder air. We would find the 850 front here and the 700 millibar front here usually. But a lot of times over rough terrain like this, the upper flow will tend to surge out ahead of that, and we will see the surface front like that, and the upper front like that at 850 and 700 millibars. And as you might guess, this brings a lot of cold air aloft over the warm sector. And so we think about cold over warm. That's a very unstable pattern, and that's going to promote a lot of mixing under that layer. So you're going to see some very gusty winds associated with that. Okay. There we go. Let's go back to the charts here and progress on to the dynamics. Okay, so I'm checking this, and I see we have 19th at 0Z. Very strong dynamics coming up into British Columbia there. There's the polar front jet right there over Washington. And let's see what's going to happen over the next 48 hours. By the time we do the webcast on Monday night, here comes some strong dynamics coming onto the West Coast. So those are going to move, not only move onshore, but those are going to dig southeast into California there. So by midweek, pretty good storm coming onto the California coast, and that'll dig even further into the southern Rockies region by Thursday. So we're going to see the very first start of maybe some chase activity there on the Great Plains. Things will be really gearing up for Friday. Thursday and Friday right there. So this is going to be Thursday night's chart here. Got the polar front jet running from about Midland up to northern Kansas. And we can pretty much see that the stronger capping is going to be eroded in this area. And the capping may actually hold tight in this area right here. So I think what we're seeing here, maybe the GFS going a little bit further north with this system here. But looks like on Friday we get some digging. This is the chart here for Friday evening. And we see the jet looking like that right there. So probably a lot of cap erosion over Texas and Louisiana. So ultimately we should have a pretty good squall line in place by Friday night. And that'll progress eastward on Saturday. Pretty good cutoff low right there over the southeast U.S. on Sunday. And then we're looking for shot number 2 coming back in behind. And you can see one little shortwave right there coming across Texas and Oklahoma on Sunday evening. So maybe a chance of thunderstorms right there. And then for Monday, we've got a pretty good wave coming in through there. So yeah, we're going to get into a very active pattern here in the next week for sure. And here comes our next shot, a couple waves coming across the southern plains here on the 31st. And another wave digging in here. So we're going to have a lot to look at here over the next 7 or 10 days. And there's a quick look at the infrared imagery. You can see one little wave coming through the Nevada area here. So we would be looking for probably a short wave right there along the Nevada-California border. Let me see if we have that real quick. Yep, there it is right there. Let's see if we can see that on the the NAM model. I'm just really curious if this is well depicted by the models here. Because the analysis field is going to be pretty different from each model from one to the next. And here's what we have for the NAM. And there's that wave right there along the California-Nevada border. So this is kind of a technique you can use to initialize the models and see how well they're picking up on the upper level lift. Okay, before I let you go on that, let me just see what we have here on the GFS for next week. I'm going to load up the GFS dynamics for next weekend and set this on Thursday. Here's Thursday at 18Z. This is good timing here for severe weather on the plains. You can see that the stronger dynamics are kind of holding back here at 18Z. The plains themselves are not really disrupted just yet. And then we can see when the action comes out onto the plains here. 0Z, this is about the time of just after maximum heating. So this is pretty well in phase with the time of max heating in that area right there. So if this actually pans out, maybe good chance of severe thunderstorms from Amarillo up to Dodge City, up to Great Bend, kind of in that area right there. All right, so let me take a quick look at the chat here to see if there's anything else going on here. I've got Jason Persoff here. Excellent. Pointing out that the ECMWF going a little bit further south with this system. And Ryan says, looks very promising here. Late afternoon blow up. Yeah, we're going to check this out over the next few days and see what the trends are on this model. And I'll see if I can find any ECMWF data. As you know, it's very hard to find that information. It's very restricted by the European meteorological agencies. So if any of you have any ideas for sources of ECMWF data, you can pass it on to me by email, and I'll check that out and see if we can integrate some of that into the webcast. Okay, so let's go ahead and go forward with the formal forecast here. I'm going to pull up the Pivotal Weather charts, and again, I appreciate Pivotal Weather for letting us use these on the channel here. Okay, so this weekend, large cyclone there, kind of a lee side low over Kansas and Nebraska. You can see that's pretty well south of the dynamics. This is the main baroclinic area up to the north. So not much is going to be going on with this initially. Then we see around Monday or Tuesday this front pushing south through the Great Plains right there. Cold air advection coming back in behind that. And the tail end of that along the Rockies right there. And then we're watching for the Pacific system coming in around Wednesday or Thursday. And here it comes. I don't know if you can see that, but look at the thickness right here. We can already see that this is in the process of crossing the Rockies right through here. So we're going to see this emerge pretty quickly around the Front Range. So there's our front coming in. This is around Thursday at 18Z. So this is a lot of convection, very good convection back in behind it, some very good instability. But the dry line is going to be active, especially with this westerly flow in place, strong upper level dynamics. Probably going to be looking at something like that, and that's going to be a potential development area as the afternoon wears on. And you can see right there, that looks like some dry line activity being forecast developing from Childress to around Pratt. Of course, this is going to be subject to change by quite a big margin between now and then. Very strong cyclogenesis there in northeastern Colorado. Front coming back in behind that and undercutting the dry line. And let's check out the setup for Friday. Things will be moving quickly eastward. Looks like the dry line is undercut, and now we've got some forced convection going on there around Fort Worth and Dallas. And GFS really bringing in the afternoon heating right there. And then I'll move into Arkansas and Louisiana overnight. There that goes, and then we're looking for shot number 2 coming in back behind it. So Sunday could also be a chase day here. Remember Sunday, this is Sunday at 18Z. We're looking at one little wave coming into this area. We've got a little bit of return flow in here, but it remains to be seen. I guess the GFS not firing anything in this area. Probably not quite enough moisture in place there. And then Friday. Now we've got some development right there. Here comes the next front. Got a little bit of maybe dry line activity out over Oklahoma. And then we go for some development right there around Elkhart to Liberal, Kansas. And then the cold front stretching south to Childress and Sanderson, kind of like that. Then the warm front up into Nebraska like that. So probably looking at a dry line, maybe something like that. Then looks like overnight we get some activity there in North Texas. That'll be shifting southward along the leading edge of the front. And then that'll head eastward. And there goes another chance of storms there on the 31st, and then a pretty good push of cold air southward. Again, this is getting way out there. We're at 330 hours. And then a lot of cold air. There we go. So cool and drier there for the first week of April. And then looks like we got maybe a little bit of a Pacific system, or I'm sorry, Atlantic system working up the coast there around the 2nd or 3rd. So some pretty good snow there. But again, this is 384 hours out, so I'm sure we'll see a lot of change between now and then. Okay, that's all I got for tonight. I appreciate you all watching. Jason mentions excellent cyclogenesis. Wish there was more snow for the mountains, though. What do I think about snowfall potential for north central Colorado? That's something I'll probably have to take a look at between now and tomorrow, but I'll definitely check that out. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.